Outfitters.
Outfitters. That's what we do.
Yeah?
Yep.
No doubt. But what they do
What they do
Is a call.
is a call
is a call.
to action. We're able to wear our camo.
Because they were there.
We love what we do.
What we do,
But we honor.
Honor what they do. We're Deer Thugs.
Deer Thugs.
Deer Thugs. Today's
Hunters united for good.
we're Deer Thugs.
Deer Thugs.
Deer Thugs.
Are you?
Are you? Are you?
Mossy Oaks Deer Thugs is brought to you by Walmart. Be sure to look for your Deer Thug gear. Every sale supports the Outdoor Recreation Heritage Fund. Be a hero. Thank a hero.
Section 1, question 9.
What's the perfect scenario for using a ground blind?
Perfect scenario for using a ground blind. How about deer hunting?
Kevin Burleson, part of Texas bow hunting.
We use a ground blind a lot. Perfect scenario, taking a kid hunting, restless, fidgety, somebody that is physically unable to get in a tree. Terrain, you can't get in a tree 30 foot up in our part of the world. Scent containment. Ground blind contains so much scent when it's done right. I mean, it's just any number of things. There's so many positives to ground blind hunting. Now, you've got to know how to do it, how to put it in right. You put it in natural. When it's done right, it's the most effective thing in the world. We have probably 50% of our hunters hunt out of the air. Now I'm talking about 300 to 400 bow hunters a year that come through my place. Probably 80% of the kills come from a ground blind. And if you talk about big mature buck kills, it's probably 90% come from the ground blinds. That's how effective it is in our world. So, man, we live in ground blinds in our place, and I try to put one everywhere I go. I've been very blessed with 3 wonderful kids, and I was fortunate enough to take my youngest daughter hunting for the very first time. She has always been shooting a bow, but has expressed interest in taking some animals now. And
one weekend my dad called. He asked us if we had some free time to come out to the ranch and hunt. When we showed up, Mossy Oak was there. Daddy had surprised us and let us know that they were going to go out and film us shooting.
Felt extremely fortunate to be able to take her on her first deer hunt at, gosh, 26 years old, I guess. But better late than never.
Mossy Oaks Deer Thugs is brought to you by Ram Truck Brand, Quaker Boy, Weaver Optics, Precision Shooting Equipment, Mossberg, Mossy Oak Native Nurseries, and by Mossy Oak Brand Camo.
Section 1, question 9.
What's the perfect scenario for using a ground blind?
Anytime you can't conceal yourself in a tree.
Jimmy Riley, Giles Island.
I'm a big tree hunter. I mean, if I'm deer hunting, I want to be elevated. I want to be in a tree. You know, sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes you can't get in a tree. Either there's not any trees there, like out parts of Texas or the Midwest, they don't have a lot of trees in some places. Or you can't get close enough to get a shot at where you think the deer are going to come out. So any place that you can't get in a tree is a good spot for a ground blind, but you just can't stick that ground blind anywhere you want to. But if you're sticking that ground blind out there spur of the moment, you've got to heal it all the way over with some natural vegetation, limbs and whatnot. And you can't just stick it out in the wide open and pile stuff on it. It needs to be sunk back at least one layer into the brush, you know, and then go cut everything in that area and pile it up all on the sides, top, front, and everything, and just cut you some little shooting holes out of there. So best time for a ground blind is whenever you can't get in a tree.
So we finally got together on a date, which is not easy between all the hunters I have in camp and you know, hers and Cody's tight schedule. You know, we still had a very limited time frame to get all this done, but well, we got into an area that again isn't known for monster deer, but got a lot of deer. I knew there was going to be constant activity in there, and that's what I wanted with her, as any new hunter that you want to try to get into it. But well, babe, here we are in a blind in the deer woods. It took me 25 years to get you here, but you're here. Your first deer hunt, and you're gonna get a shot at the deer tonight. What do you think? All right. We're in a really good spot with a lot of deer has been coming in, and hopefully we'll have a lot of stuff coming in this evening. So anyway, you're not known for being quiet in any stretch of the word, and this is gonna be the true test for you. Not the shot, not the buck fever, just being quiet. We'll see how it works. Okay. Let's kill a deer. All right. You know, shortly after getting in the blind, and I mean 15 minutes, we had our first encounter with deer coming in, and of course we're in a ground blind in our part of the world, and they're at eye level at 5-6 steps out in front of us. So
We were sitting there, and I had never seen the deer come in so close, and there were so many deer.
Call Thug with Ernie Calandrelli.
Ernie, we live in ground blinds in our part of the world out there. It's just a way we do it. But is calling from a ground blind as effective as calling from a tree stand?
Absolutely. You know, there's no doubt about it. You know, if you're going to call a deer, whether it be in a tree stand, a ground blind, it really doesn't make that much of a difference. But of course, you know, you're a little more apt to get less winded from a tree. Of course, you always got to be conscious of the wind when you're hunting deer, as you are in a ground blind. Now, in a ground blind, you know, maybe I won't be so as aggressive, especially when I got a deer coming, because maybe you don't want him to pinpoint that exact spot, or at least if he's in sight, that you don't want to pinpoint that exact spot. If he sees something out of place or something, where it's going to be harder for him to see something out of a place when you're up in a tree. So my suggestion would be, if you're in a ground blind, of course you're going to probably make the same grunts or bleats or whatever you're doing. Once that buck starts coming in, I would definitely back way off the call, and then, you know, so he doesn't pick you up so easily.
You betcha. It's still effective.
Very effective.
Absolutely.
Call Thug is brought to you by Deer Thug Calls, powered by Quaker Boy.
It was, you know, something very new and foreign to her that she really got a kick out of. But we had a buck step in that we were, you know, wanting to take, but here comes a little buck. He's coming on in. Oh, that bigger buck's behind him. That's the one we want.
I sat there, and whenever it got close enough, I pulled back my bow and waited on it.
Good shot, good shot. Good shot. You drilled him. You drilled him, babe.
I closed my eyes on that one. I couldn't see what I was doing.
You absolutely drilled that deer. Watch it run out of frame and heard it crash. Oh, it was a really cool thing.
How about that? This is that 7-point we were told about. Look, he's got a kicker.
So it's an 8-point.
Yeah, so it's an 8-point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's long. Fantastic. Was it everything you thought it would be?
Yeah. I got.
Don't act nonchalant. I saw how excited you were.
No, I had a lot of fun.
A little exciting.
We can do it again.
We can do it again.
All right.
We might have to wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, it's kind of dark. Tomorrow morning.
Well, let's go get the ranger and get his butt out of here. Go show him off the code.
All right.
All right, buddy. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Section 2.
Question 3.
What's more important, arrow speed or penetration?
Penetration.
Penetration.
Penetration, kinetic energy.
Penetration.
Penetration.
Mossy Oaks Deer Thugs is brought to you by Lethal, Sheffield Financial, Ozonics, Charlie O Products. Come here, dear. Schwacker Broadheads. And by Mossy Oak Brand Camo.
Section 1, question 9.
What's the perfect scenario for using a ground blind?
Perfect scenario for using a ground blind is if there are not any other trees that you can actually use.
Charlie O'Brien, the Catch-22 Ranch.
It's something I do not like using, simply because of the fact that you can't see a lot around you. But there's sometimes it is a necessary way to hunt if you don't have a good tree that you can actually hunt out of. And for us doing a lot of filming, you have to actually have 2 stands in it. And people don't understand it's a lot tougher to get 2 stands in a tree than it is one. What happens is a lot of times we're going into ground blinds, and so now you have to go out and set them up, figure out which way the wind's blowing and those kind of things. But I really don't like them for the fact that I can't see around them, and those deer will just pop up on you a lot of times, and you can't see them coming a long way away a lot of times. So it's one of those things that I have used, but I'm not a real big fan of.
We had a little bit of a nemesis one year that last year, I guess it was, on a buck that was well known to all of us. This buck we call Lugnut. 2 days before the end of season, we were in a spot. Matter of fact, she had just came straight from work. I didn't realize until we got in the blind that she still had on her hairspray and perfume and all the good smelling stuff that is never good for deer hunting on. And I just told her, we're not gonna see anything. Lo and behold, we weren't in there 15 minutes and Lugnut shows up. We have a tense few moments. Finally pull everything together. She ends up making the perfect shot on Lugnut.
Still in him. What happened? Watch.
The saga of Lugnut ends. So, but it was a thrill that she had never experienced in her life. And for me to see that in her, in something, again, that I love so deeply, really meant a lot. One of the hunts that I will never, ever forget.
Bowhunting with Blake Shelby.
Blake, other than string wax, is there anything else to lubricate on a bow?
Absolutely. Basically, any moving part needs lubrication. But one of the biggest difference today is that limb pockets are different. You know, they used to all be stagnant and there wasn't any movement within them. They held the limbs in a stationary position. Now, the limbs are allowed to bend within the limb pockets and they're allowed to move within the limb pockets. And like anything else, if you've got a moving part, you need to lubricate it. Not very often, but once a year, take it to a bow shop, have them loosen everything up, put lubrication in there, check out, make sure all the other screws are tight, your string's in good shape, just general maintenance, but that needs to be included in on your maintenance check these days.
Well, I didn't know that about the limb pocket, but speaking of string wax, looks like I need to put a little more on here, don't it?
Every time you go hunt.
Bowhunting is brought to you by PSE, Experience Performance.
Alright, afternoon, day 2. Back to summertime. It got to almost 70 degrees today after starting out frosty this morning. We're in a great area. They should be coming from sanctuary to feed through here tonight. Once again, we're going to do our time on stand and hope for the best. We'll see what happens.
We just kind of had our fingers crossed. I guess an hour or so before dark, we had a decent deer start working his way in.
Oh, there's a buck. There's a buck way out there.
But his attention was focused way back over this way.
Boy, he keeps looking off to his left.
But he started working his way in, got a little closer, you know, and then he'd throw his head up and look back.
Come on in, come on in. Get a look at you.
Finally, I looked out here, and here's a nice deer.
There's another deer behind him. Oh my God, there's a big deer behind him.
Section 1, question 9.
What's the perfect scenario for using a ground blind?
You know, the scenario for using a ground blind to me is when I have no tree stand options left.
Justin Akins, Canadian River Hilton.
You know, in western Oklahoma, we don't have a lot of trees. 95% of my archery stands are tree stands, but the reason that I do use them, I had a tree stand on one particular scenario where this deer was coming in. I had to have a north wind. Looked at the weather. It was early season, and we had a south wind, and there was no tree to put it in. And so I brushed in a ground blind. Worked great, and we was able to get the deer that we wanted. Another scenario, I've got an area that some deer travel down through a draw, and there are no trees. There's a few cedar trees that are maybe 5-6 foot tall. Put a ground blind in there and was successful in that setup as well. But if I have an option, me personally, it's going to be in a tree stand. But if I need a setup where the wind won't allow me to do that, or there's no trees available, then that's where I go in and use a ground blind.
Section 1, question 9.
What's the perfect scenario for using a ground blind?
During inclement weather is the ultimate scenario for a ground blind.
Brett Law, Union Springs, Alabama.
They're awful nice to kick back in on those rainy, nasty days I feel. Mother Nature doesn't always provide a suitable tree right where we need one. That's when a ground blind is just what the doctor ordered. Pop one up, brush it in the natural surroundings and habitat, and you're good to go. They are also very useful for hunting with kids, older hunters, or hunters with a fear of height or other limitations. They give everyone a chance to hide and get into the game.
Oh my goodness. The size of that deer.
And he walks right in front of us. We finally get it right.
Look at that boy. Oh
yeah. He stands right.
Okay, there he is, there he is. I'm gonna try him.
We closed the deal on a really, really nice buck in a very trying time that we really didn't have hopes for a lot coming in. So you just never know what could happen.
How about this boy? Look at that. Man, that's what a Texas deer should look like. Oh man, look at those main beams. That's fun stuff. Got me excited for sure. Let's go get the truck, put a tag on him, take him back and show him off.
The family tradition is very, very important to me, and for them now to be a part of my life, that something that I love so dear and so dear to my heart, that again gives me a good warm feeling.
Mossy Oaks Deer Thugs is brought to you by Walmart.
Judging distance is critical with a bow, muzzleloader, or rifle. Even with today's equipment, knowing the distance of your target is crucial.
There are several options when it comes to judging distance. Today, new electronic rangefinders can instantly tell you the exact distance to a target with just the touch of a button. This is a huge advantage when hunting from a tree stand or stalking if you're allowed a bit of time and some limited movement. If you're bow hunting from a tree stand and don't have a rangefinder, pick several landmarks from the ground and step them off. Once you're in stand, it's harder to judge the distance correctly. If stalking on the ground, try and get your distance in 10-yard increments. Pick a landmark or something 10 yards away, then another mark 10 yards from that, and so on. Judging in 10-yard increments makes it easier to get a true distance.
Whatever method you use, practice it often. Make judging unknown distances part of your regular practice routine.
Save money, live better. Walmart.